Welcome to the night sky this week for January 25th, 2021. Thank you for joining me wherever you are around this world. We share the same night sky. I'm Andrew Fazekas, the night sky guy. Let's dive in for this week. So why don't we head on over to the planetarium showcase and see what's in store for this week. So we've got the night sky settled in here for any time this week. We're maybe perhaps for Tuesday, January 26th in the early evening, just after your local sunset. This is the lay of the land, and what you will notice right away is our friend Mercury. Yay for Mercury! Mercury is, of course, the innermost planet, the planet that is closest to the sun, and is in fact in a wonderful location to be able to view it now. It's about as high and far enough away from the sun that it can get from our vantage point here on Earth so that we get a good look. Now, you know, Mercury is an interesting planet also for skywatchers in that it is a bit of a challenge usually. Why? Because, of course, as you can see in the simulation here, this is soon after a local sunset. You can see if I move back a few minutes before sunset, you can see that there's a really tricky time period where Mercury is lost. You see, it's with the sun still above the horizon just before sunset. You can't see it, obviously, and you have to wait a bit before it kind of pops out from the glow of the local sunset that you're looking. So you're looking low towards the southwest, okay? So just to backtrack here, setting the scene, you want to be looking towards the southwestern horizon, get a good view, clear view to the low southwestern horizon. This is really important because, folks, Mercury is usually lost. And in that glare of the sunset or sunrise, depending on the time of the year, right now, as we're speaking in end of January, Mercury is making a wonderful apparition in our early evening skies. And there's a very narrow time window when it's really optimum to see it. Now, I'm excited about watching Mercury and getting you to watch Mercury because it's always on a bucket list for skywatchers as one of the more challenging naked eye classical planets. There's 5 classical naked eye planets. By that, I mean the planets that were seen by ancient skywatchers. We're talking about those in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, the Sumerians, the Babylonians. The ancient folks, stargazers looking up at the sky, noticed that there were five moving stars, star-like objects, the stars that appear to move in front of the backdrop of constellations. And that's Mercury, Venus, right? Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Those are the 5 classical naked eye planets. And out of those 5, the hardest one, the most challenging one to catch is Mercury. Why? Because it never is very far away from the sun. And that kind of makes sense if we look at where Mercury is. If I choose Mercury and we kind of go into an orbital view, magically kind of go out off of the Earth, and we look at where Mercury is tonight, or I should say this week if you're watching this archive, whether on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, you'll be able to understand by this view that I'm going to zoom out here and show you what it's actually like. So here we are. You can see where Earth is. Let me just show it so that you can see. There's Earth, there's the sun, and there's Mercury. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more so you can see it. And look at this. We're going to go above the plane of the solar system. And check this out. What I want you to know is there's a backdrop of stars, obviously. But what I want you to know is where Earth is and where Mercury is and where the sun is. You see that Mercury, of course, has the track that's closest to the sun. And so it never travels far away, right, from our nearest star. It's hugging our sun and its track around it. And it's a much closer track than we are, the third rock from the sun, which is, of course, Earth, our home. And look where Mercury is. So if we're all stuck on Earth, this is our vantage point. looking up. And remember, I said look very close after sunset for Mercury. And you see that where it is, how close from our vantage point here on Earth, you can clearly see that Mercury is close to the sun from our vantage point, right? We're looking generally in the direction of the sun when we're looking for Mercury. So doesn't that make sense? If we go back to our sky view magically here we go. Boom, back we are on Earth, looking towards the southwest. Maybe about a half hour to 45 minutes after your local sunset, you'll notice this faint star that's visible to the naked eye. That is Mercury. And so now you understand, I hope, by me showing you the orbital view. We've looked at the orbital view, flew off of the Earth. We have an idea now, a sense, a three-dimensional sense of why is Mercury so challenging? Because it has to kind of move away as far away from the sun as possible. And as you saw in that orbital view, this is about as far away as Mercury can get in our evening skies from the sun, so that we can see it. So it's drawn away far enough so that you can spot it with the naked eye. And I'm just saying that this is possible now. Now for you guys, those of you that are real newbies to skywatching, maybe don't have too much experience with it, this is a great time to kind of pick off your bucket list, stargazing bucket list, the planet Mercury. So do check that out. And of course, if you have a small telescope, well, we can take a look at what Mercury looks like through a small telescope. It looks like a very small disk. You'll actually reveal it to be a small, tiny disk. Here we go. We're zooming in. All right. Keep zooming in. And there you go. You look at that. It looks like a miniature crescent moon. Isn't that fascinating? This is, again, a view, a high magnification view through a small backyard telescope. So you use an eyepiece that gives you a large magnification, a high magnification, and you'll be able to see the disk of Mercury. And what you'll notice, lo and behold, is that Mercury isn't a round disk right now. It's actually a crescent moon shape disk, that instead of a round disk. It looks like a crescent, miniature version of the crescent moon. It's a really amazing thing to be able to see. And how far away is little Mercury right now? Believe it or not, it's 133 million kilometers away. It's so far away that it takes light from Mercury. I'm going to zoom out here now. There's Mercury. We're going to zoom out. Imagine that light that you see from Mercury with your naked eye tonight, anytime this week. I've got this on Tuesday, but this is true for the rest of this end of this week, for the end of January. That light at 133 million kilometers that it has to travel from Mercury to your eye takes 7.4 minutes to reach your eye. Just over 7 minutes of travel time for the light. Remember, the speed of light is 300,000 kilometers per second. Incredible. It's hard to wrap your mind around. But it's so far away, this little planet, that it takes over 7 minutes for that light to travel, to reach your eye. Those little photons of light, particles of light, streaming from the surface of Mercury. Remember, it's sunlight bouncing off of Mercury. Mercury doesn't produce its light. It's a planet. It doesn't shine by its own light. It's sunlight reflecting off the craters and mountains and valleys of Mercury, and then bouncing off of Mercury and then entering your eye. It's really an incredible sight, just to think about it, to put it into perspective of what you're watching when you're looking at Mercury. So it's a really cool planet. And of course, if we look at it up close, this is a beautiful photograph from the Messenger spacecraft that flew by a few years ago by Mercury, one of the missions of NASA. And look what it looks like. Doesn't that remind you of the moon? I mean, those of you probably are not that very familiar with the surface of the moon. You go, well, isn't that the moon? No, it's not. It's actually Mercury filled with craters. Look at it, it's completely pockmarked. And you can see the white craters here, by the way. Those white craters mean that they're fresher craters. That's the bright undersurface, the underbelly of Mercury exposed to space. You know, and you can see even the rays of these crater rays, similar to what we see on the moon, also visible on Mercury. And it's a really incredible sight to be able to see that. Of course, Mercury is the fleet-footed messenger of the Roman gods, right? And later it was in ancient Greece, it was known as Hermes. So it was the only immortal who could have traversed between the upper world, the earth, and the underworld without undergoing a frightening transformation. As such, he became an immortal messenger with winged feet and helmet. So, and of course, the middle day of the week, Wednesday, is named after Woden, later called Odin, the prominent god of the Anglo-Saxons and other ancient Germanic peoples. And it's based on the Latin Mercury, the day of Dies Mercurii, which means day of Mercury. So very interesting. Has a lot of ancient heritage to this planet, and it's at its best this week. So don't miss out. So why don't we go a little bit later into the evening? Here we go this week. And why don't you give a try and see, of course, our old friend Mars. Mars is going to be high up in the southwestern sky by mid-evening, anytime this week, perhaps Wednesday, January 27th. This is something you want to give a try. See that bright orange star high in the sky in the southwest in the late evening. It really is an incredible sight in that knowing that we have a robotic rover on its way, landing on February 18th. Let's not forget, NASA will have that amazing giant 1-ton robotic rover named Perseverance, landing on the red planet. And it's going to be incredible. This is going to be, and I'll be, of course, streaming that, doing a live stream on February 18th. Mark that down on your calendar. We'll be looking at the landing of NASA's Perseverance rover on February 18th. That will happen approximately, I think, around 3:30 p.m. Eastern time in the afternoon on North America's East Coast is the time approximately when NASA will be landing its next rover that will be looking for life on Mars, microbial life, evidence of life. Its main task is that. It also has a robotic drone helicopter on board. Really incredible. And just think, Mars is visible to you in the sky, just with your naked eye. You don't need any special instrument. It's currently 171 million kilometers away, and it takes 9.5 minutes for the light to reach your eye from Mars. This is Mars we're talking about. Everyone's fascinated by this planet. Humans, it's captured human imaginations for thousands of years. And science fiction today, Hollywood comes out with movies about Mars all the time. And we are sending robots, our robotic emissaries, our ambassadors have been exploring the red planet. And it's right now visible to you in the sky very easily in the early evening. Look for an orange bright star in the southwestern skies after your darkness falls. Next door to it, again, added bonus for skywatchers, there's the planet Uranus, the 7th planet from the sun. Now, Mars acts as a wonderful guidepost to be able to find Uranus for a number of weeks now. This is something, and I know a lot of you have already tried. And if you haven't seen it, keep trying. With the naked eye, it's just on the verge of being able to be seen. Uranus is a real challenge for the naked eye. You need very dark skies, no moon in the sky, and really patience. Now, if you have binoculars, it's a cinch. You can really easily see Uranus next to Mars. This is kind of, I'm going to show you kind of the view here that you can expect. It's really not hard to do because Mars acts as a guidepost, and it's just below Mars. That's where you'll see this green. You see how green this is just down here? I'm going to zoom out a little bit. You see how green that dot looks like? It really does look like a greenish blue, fuzzy little disc through binoculars and through small telescopes. And you can't miss that green, distinctly greenish glow from Uranus. And just imagine, I mean, Uranus is, it's crazy how far away it is. I mean, it's 2.5 billion kilometers away. It takes light almost 2.5 hours to reach your eye. That's how far away Uranus is. It's incredible. And it's something that you can see currently in the constellation Aries, the Ram. And it's a very, not a very particularly bright constellation, but Mars is really, really easy to see. And then Uranus is something easier to see thanks to Mars pointing the way. So don't miss out. Perhaps Wednesday, January 27th or 28th. You might want to anytime this week. Again, this is something, the next clear night, you want to try to see that. Really, I can highly recommend it. So again, for those of you joining me here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, welcome. I'm here every week. I'm Andrew Fazekas, the Night Sky Guy. If this is the first time you've joined and you like a video like this, I come out every week. Usually it's on a Monday. Mondays, 1 p.m. Eastern time is when I'm on. And why don't you subscribe and like this video, share it with others, show your support, and you'll be part of the group of people who get sky charts and all kinds of other notifications about amazing things happening, and not just in stargazing and astronomy discoveries, but also space exploration. So do stay tuned for all kinds of neat things. Now, getting back to the sky, what else is there to see? Now, the moon, as you'll see on Tuesday, January 26th and 27th, if we move towards 26th and 27th, will be really interesting because the moon will be in the constellation Gemini. And Gemini is pinned down represented by two very bright stars to the naked eye, Pollux and Castor. You can see Castor is above, Pollux is below. They represent the heads of the twins, the Gemini twins. Now, those two stars are very bright, but the other ones in the constellation that represent the body of the twins, the individual twins, are also visible to the naked eye. Just be patient. Let your eyes adapt to the darkness when you step outside. Give yourself about 10-15 minutes for your eyes to adapt to darkness. Now, remember, you've got a near full moon. In fact, on Wednesday, we have our full moon officially. This will make it a bit of a challenge this week in seeing a lot of details near the moon, but the moon does act as a guidepost to helping you understand where in the sky these constellations are and how large they are. Some people are really surprised at the sizes of the constellations. It's one thing to see something on the screen like this, two stars like Castor and Pollux close up like this. They're actually spanning a very large part of the sky when you look up. So people are usually surprised at how large chunk of the sky constellations do take up. So these star patterns are big. And just be aware of that you're sometimes not looking for little tiny, Castor and Pollux being really small and close together. They're actually spanning quite a bit of real estate in the sky. So just look for the moon as a wonderful guidepost on Tuesday and Wednesday. This is where the moon will be on Tuesday. You can see in between the two twins. And then the next day, the moon will be below the twins. So it's a really great way to, again, learn some of your constellations by following the moon. Now, by Thursday, January 28th, look where the moon is. The moon is in between the claws of Cancer, the crab. Where are we looking? Again, we're looking towards the east. Remember, the full moon, if you haven't seen the full moon rise, that'll happen Wednesday, but Tuesday night, Thursday night as well, just before and just after the full moon, fantastic. If you've never seen a full moon rise, what are you waiting for? It's one of those things that should be on your bucket list with being a sky watcher. I never get tired of watching that big silvery orb rising in the east. Very soon after sunset, you will see that. And just look for that beautiful silvery orb. making, perhaps making an illusion, an optical illusion where it looks slightly bigger than it actually is. Look for coloration in that full moon rise. And of course, it makes a perfect photo opportunity if you can set yourself up in a location like in front of a lake or ocean side, with mountains perhaps, or buildings or trees, any kind of foreground objects. You can take amazing photographs. I'd love to see your photographs of a moonrise. Either tonight, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday this week would be absolutely amazing to be able to capture that moonrise. And so do check that out. And an hour or two after that sunrise, let the darkness fall, let it get dark enough, and you'll notice, maybe with binoculars and a small telescope, those of you with binoculars will be able to pick off a very cool little star cluster buried, nestled inside the body of Cancer the crab. And this little cluster is called the Beehive cluster. And check this out. It's really a beautiful little cluster. I'm zooming in on it. There you can see it. It's going to be to the upper right of the moon. And it's a little cluster that is about 610 light years away. Imagine that. It's taken light from this beautiful cluster of stars. Here's a beautiful picture taken through a telescope of what it would look like with binoculars, very similar to. You'll get a little bit of a wider view. That kind of a grouping of bright stars all huddled together. And the light, they're so far away, they're all associated with each other. They were born from the same stellar cloud. And the light has taken a journey of 610 years to reach your eye when you watch this beautiful grouping of stars. I mean, just imagine, to wrap your brain around that you are looking back in time. We are all looking back in time by looking at these kind of objects. Any objects in space. They are so far away. And just to put that into perspective, the moon is only 1.3 light seconds away. It means that when you see the moon, the sunlight has bounced off the moon's surface, and it takes just over a second to travel that distance between our two worlds, between the moon and the earth, to reach your eye. Just over. So you're looking back in time 1 second when you look at the moon tonight. Imagine that. And when you look at the Beehive star cluster, you're looking at stars the way they looked over 6 centuries ago. What happened on Earth 610 years ago? It's fun. Just a fun exercise. You can just look up and, well, what are the things that happened in history 610 years ago when the light left on its journey from this Beehive cluster? And that's what you're seeing now. You're seeing how that cluster looked like 600 years ago. Has it changed since then? Probably not very much, because the lifetime of stars are measured in, we measure lifetime of stars in hundreds of millions and billions of years. Like our own sun is already 5 billion years old. It's halfway through its life cycle. It's a middle-aged star. These stars are probably a few 100 million years old, and they're still fairly young. They're going to be moving away from each other, drifting apart. And you would have to watch that for millions of years to really see the effect very clearly from our vantage point here, 600 light years away from the Beehive cluster. So definitely the moon is going to be fun to watch as a guidepost to finding things, right? So if we move on to Friday and Saturday. So here we are on Friday night. Friday night, the moon will be late at night now we're talking about. Look where the moon is. You can see Leo the Lion constellation rising. Now, Leo the Lion is a fairly bright constellation. It's representative of spring. So we usually see Leo the Lion in early spring in the evening time. So when we talk about, well, this constellation is visible at this season, like Leo is in the spring, or Orion is a winter constellation. When I say that, when you see that in books and guides about the season that a constellation is associated with, that really is referring to, you have to keep that in mind, that is referring to evening time observing sessions. So the most civilized time to go out observing the stars is usually after supper time in the evening, right? Sometime between, say, 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night. And so most of the constellations, when we talk about it, when skywatchers do refer to it, and you'll find this in your guidebooks everywhere, we refer to the evening time of when that constellation is visible. It doesn't mean that's the only time it's visible. In fact, look, we're talking about Leo. Leo is a constellation that rises in the east and is very prominent in the spring northeast, the northern hemisphere springtime. So that means April, May, and June are fantastic times to look for in the early evening, looking for Leo. But guess what? You can see Leo now. If you're willing to stay up a little bit later, you'll be able to see it rising, around 11, 12 o'clock at night. It's there, and the moon will be right in the middle of Leo the Lion. So check that out. That's again going to be on Friday, late Friday into Saturday morning, rising with the moon. The moon will be embedded, and look next to the moon. Look what is next to it is a very bright star. It's the brightest star in Leo the Lion, and it's called Regulus. Regulus is this beautiful blue-white jewel. You don't want to miss it. And the moon will be right next to it. Of course, the blinding light of the moon will be making it kind of tricky to see all the stars in that area, right? The glare of the moon will do that. But you will nevertheless be able to pin down, there's no doubt in my mind, you'll be able to pin down Regulus. There we go. We got it highlighted. And Regulus is just this gorgeous blue-white star. It's 79 light years away. Here's an amazing photograph taken of this beautiful star. Look at it. It's like a gemstone. It's absolutely. And remember, you're looking back in time, 79 years. 79 years back in time is when the light left on its journey from Regulus, the star, what represents the heart of Leo the Lion constellation. And the moon will guide you. Again, this is late Friday night this week. Check that out. It's just so beautiful to see. And of course, with the moon moving away, and I'll say on the weekend, let's move on to the Saturday and Sunday. Here we are on Saturday night. And I go a little bit early. I want to go just after sunset. I'm going to put it just after sunset. I'm going to move an hour after sunset, an hour, 2 hours. So 2 hours after sunset, the moon will not have risen yet. It'll take a few hours for the moon to rise at this point. So remember, we're talking about Saturday and Sunday, right? So try to see, and this is a setup for another week of observing that I'm going to talk to you about next week. So stay tuned. We're going to be talking more about one of my favorite parts of the sky, and that's, of course, the winter hexagon. Now, I've got a special video that I've made about the winter hexagon, and I'll give you a great preparation for the live stream that I'll have next week, where we're really going to investigate and kind of tease out some of the details around one of the most famous constellations of the winter time in the northern hemisphere, and that's of course, Orion. And Orion has amazing friends, other constellations around that are easier to find thanks to Orion. And of course, there's amazing deep sky treasures too. So I will have a good introductory preparatory video for you called The Winter Hexagon and how to spot it and what are some of the main signposts with it associated. I'll have that link in the comments below, so do check out that video. And of course, the next live stream we'll have next week will be all about Orion. But check it out. It's in the southeast. Prep you here very quickly. We've got 3 stars that represent the belt of Orion. And those of you that are in the southern hemisphere, you can see this too, of course. The representation compared to what I show you here, of course, will be the right side up for you. It'll be the opposite. It'll be upside down as it is for us in northern hemisphere. That's how we would say it for you guys down under. But beautiful set of stars for all of us around the world to look. Is visible straight around the world wherever you're watching this from. Orion, you don't want to miss it. The 3 belt stars of Orion are the main guideposts that I want you to zero in on, and you'll see a lot more information next week about things that you can do and see some detail, tease out some really cool deep sky treasures that you can see in this region of the sky. So it's fantastic. So there you have it. You've got a week long of really cool things to do in the evening sky. I hope that that is, pretty full. I will have sky charts for all of these in my timeline on my Facebook. I'll put some of the key ones on Instagram and also on YouTube as posts as well. And of course, if you like this video and you want to support more content like this, don't hesitate. Click on that subscribe button, whether on YouTube or on Facebook, or whether you're watching on Twitch, and make sure you get those notifications. Share this video with your friends and family. Let's get more people to do sky watching, because it's an amazing hobby. It's so easy to do. And until the next video, stay safe and healthy. And of course, I wish all of you clear skies. Bye-bye.